We are joined now by Susan Wallace, who is the federal NDP candidate in Toronto Centre this spring in the Orange Crush election and ran with Jack Layton as leader. Thanks for joining us, Susan.
Thanks for having me, Joel.
Susan, I wondered, we all saw the outpouring of love, really, that happened after Jack's passing. I went down to Nathan Phillips Square and was just amazed by the tributes, the thousands of people that attended his funeral. Why is it that you think Jack connected in such a particular way with people, that we saw this outpouring that is so rare?
Right. Well, I think there's the obvious one of the pure human tragedy of a life cut short so suddenly, and so many of us thinking that we would have more time with Jack, even after the July announcement when it was clear that he was, in fact, ailing again. I don't think very many of us saw that it would end so soon. And it was a fitting tribute, I think, to someone who epitomized a different way of doing politics and a different way of seeking justice and a fairer share for Canadians, doing it always with a twinkle in his eye and a spring in his step, and with such a deep respect for the political process and for Canadians.
And I wondered if you have any particular memory of Jack sort of in the public setting. You ran as a candidate in the party led by Jack, but of course your relationship goes back much further. If you have any particular memory of Jack in public that sort of seems to really resonate for you in this time as we look back and remember his life.
Well, for me it was his relationship to the Pride Parade. That's the one that, when I'm thinking about Jack, that comes back to me time and time again. You know, working both with the parade on Sunday during Pride weekend and also back at the booth, he had such a deep and long tradition, being from participating in the very first Pride Parade to making this year's Pride Parade his very last public appearance. And when you worked the booth with Jack, it was like being beside a rock star, and people would just be pulled in by this magnetic net that he cast out, and would greet people with smiles, take time to have pictures taken with him, have an interchange and a dialogue, and people would swarm to him. They were so drawn in by that personality that what you see in a lot of the commemoration this week, that was really him. He was exactly like that. It was not anything that he put on for any special appearance. He was like that. He was charismatic, charming, and extremely generous. And that memory to me just stands out, with people stopping in their tracks when they saw that Jack was at the booth at Pride, and coming up to him, wanting to shake his hand, wanting to have their picture taken with him. And he just kept giving and giving until the last person had moved on.
And Susan, when you yourself are thinking of Jack in this last week that we had and going forward, is there a more personal memory that comes to you that sort of gives you a little bit of comfort as you're thinking about Jack's passing?
I'll tell you what happened to me on Saturday on the actual day of his funeral. I had participated in the funeral by walking with the People's Procession, starting at Nathan Phillips Square, and then watching the funeral outside. And then later on in the evening, after having shared some memories with some friends and heading back home, I flagged a cab down, and the driver asked me what the orange armband was that I was wearing was about, and so I told him it was in memory of Jack, and he just launched into his own personal recollections of Jack as an immigrant from Ethiopia who had once driven Jack to the airport in his cab and had got his autograph and displayed it proudly in his cab. And I said to the driver, I haven't seen the CN Tower yet. Do you think you can find a place where I can have a view? He immediately turned his meter off, drove me up Broadview to Riverdale Park, turned the car around, and told me that I could get out, take as much time as I wanted to see the view, take pictures, and I did. I got out and I joined several other people who were looking over at the tower from this spectacular view from Riverdale Park. And then I got back in the cab, and we continued to share memories about Jack and about what a loss this was, but how we were going to go forward. And then at the end, he would only take $10 from me, and he said, "No, we are one today." And that just moved me so much that I could have that experience to end the day of Jack's funeral on such a hopeful note.
I guess that is what really struck me as well. We didn't bump into each other, but that's not surprising. That the David Picot Square was quite packed, and I was surprised, really amazed as I stood there for the funeral, just how many people kept coming in. But it was that sense of hope, I think, that amazed me and that pervaded the whole day, which was also a gift of Jack's, really, that you could be at a funeral and have a day that seemed so hopeful. As we go forward from here, and obviously those tributes are there and they're amazing, and we've had this really, I think, great experience together, what do you think Jack's legacy is going to be 5, 10 years from now?
Well, in as much as funerals usually mark an ending, I believe that Jack's legacy is that his funeral marked a beginning. And we are going to see, we're going to share the strengths that he put forward in his last days and take it with us. And most of the remarks that I see are very forward-looking. So, we're reading in the punditry that this is going to be the death blow to the NDP, but I don't think that that's going to be the case at all. Starting in September, when Parliament resumes, we're going to see the real clout that this large caucus of 102 NDP MPs bring to the House of Commons, and how they use the legacy of Jack to advance that view so eloquently expressed that we need to make this a better Canada by sharing our great wealth more fairly. And we're going to see that advocated not just by the NDP caucus, but by Canadians who are going to come together under this rallying cry of the last sentence of that letter about love and hope and optimism.
And what a powerful gift I think that letter is going to be in the days ahead. Obviously, just the incredible courage to have written it, but I think you put your finger on something. That letter itself may embody what we hope to accomplish in Jack's memory. But and if we can remember that love is better than fear and hope is better than despair, and if we can stay hopeful and optimistic, and you really act in a positive way,
we can change the world.
Act because of what we want to accomplish, and
exactly. I have friends who are teachers who are planning to bring that letter into their class and share it with their students, especially the part of the letter addressed to young Canadians, which was such a part of Jack's magnetism that he activated and motivated young Canadians who would otherwise be very apathetic to the Canadian political system, and made them want to participate, because he represented a different vision of what it was to be a politician, what it was to want to work within the system to make life better for others. And he could turn that apathy around and really, really reach out to youngsters and make them feel part of something bigger than themselves, and share with them that generosity of spirit that was going to work hard to make life better for them. So I thought that was so inspiring to think that there could be something that would continue on as part of his legacy that will be to share that vision with young Canadians.
Absolutely. There were hundreds, thousands of chalk tributes, but the one that drew me and I snapped a picture of that I've seen other places. Jack, you were the reason I started voting, and I think his connection with young Canadians may be one of the most important legacies. Susan, thank you so much for joining us this morning to share your recollections of Jack and your memories. It's such an important Canadian figure, and as we go forward, we really appreciate you being here to share some of your memories.
I appreciate the opportunity, Joel. Thanks so much.